We're on now?
Yes, whenever you're ready.
Well, good morning. We're delighted to have you with us. We're from Rice University in Houston, Texas, and we're here to talk with you about leveraging technology to enhance mathematics teaching and learning. And we work with K-12 teachers, and Carolyn is going to...
Yeah, howdy. Okay, that's our greetings from Houston, Texas. You just heard the voice of Ngozi Kamau, and she's our researcher in charge of evaluation. Let me tell you, whenever she gets data, she just blossoms, you know. She likes doing educational data, especially with her colleagues.
Absolutely. And this is Carolyn, Susan Troutman, I'm sorry. She is our secondary programs director with the program, and I love working with Susan because she brings such positivity. When they talk about the summer campus program, when you walk into her classroom, you can just feel the love that she just shares with her teachers and the encouragement that she shares with them so that they can pass it on with their students.
And this is Carolyn White. She's our Associate Director for Elementary and Intermediate Programs. She's also known as Coach Carolyn to many students in Houston Independent School District because she does a televised program called Mathletics, where they take call-ins for students and they explain concepts on television.
Yeah, and it's hard doing a live show. I do want you to know that. But we want to tell you some more about our program. We've been existing since 1987. That's a long time to be in teaching and learning. We're partially funded by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, which is a part of Teacher Quality Grant here in the United States. From, I say, the last two past school years, and we're going to talk about this program that we utilize during the summer, where we're dealing with students from K-12. And we have a lot of focus that we are going to do, we understand, on that preschool component and the kindergartners today. Our program is about 4 weeks in length, and it is real intense. Over the past 2 summers, we've had about 60 schools from 9 surrounding school districts in the Houston area. We have 4 different groups. So we have that K-3 group, and that group is on purpose because we don't want to concentrate necessarily in kinder. We want them to see that span that goes from K-3. Then we have that span from 4-6, then we have the middle school component, and then there's a high school component. Now we don't want to leave them alone during the summer. We need follow-up. So there's academic year follow-up also that we do with the teachers as part of the program. See, they think that we're finished with them during the summer. We have big surprises. There's something else that goes on. So what are we doing with these teachers? We're developing their professionalism. What do I mean by that? Number 1, math content knowledge. We're here talking about technology. The teachers can be very good with technology, because do they also know their math content? And then along with that, do they understand what the pedagogy is going to be like? But along with that, do they understand the pedagogy once you add that component that's going to be technology? Then can they transfer that back within the classroom? How about the self-efficacy of the teacher? Do they feel confident enough to do the mathematics and the technology at the same time? And then collaborative planning is something that we really like to have with reflections on that instruction process.
Each of our courses is taught by a team of master teachers. Carolyn's a master teacher for the kindergarten through 3rd grade group. I'm a master teacher for the 4th through 6th grade group. And we each work with a partner who's currently teaching at that specific grade level. Our goals for the program and as a master teacher is that we collect activities, we give them resources to help build up their understanding of the math content and the pedagogy, and then things they can take back to collaboratively plan rigorous lessons and engaging lessons for their students to help build that connection between the mathematics they learn in the classroom to mathematics they learn in the real world. And so one of the ways that we do that is we model best practices. We work in cooperative groups so teachers can actually see how that plays out in the classroom. Sometimes our teachers are in the student role of students learning new math concepts. Sometimes they're in the teacher role where we reflect on how they can use that in their classroom. We utilize manipulatives, hands-on activities, but also the technology. We infuse our lessons with technology. We have computers, interactive whiteboards, mini camcorders for their lessons, and we encourage them to take those back to their classroom. We try to make it accessible and equitable to all students and teachers. We have first-year teachers through experienced teachers, some almost 20 years experience, but they still maybe just rely on the textbook and not really have that basic understanding of math content and how to share it with their students. And so our goal is that the teachers can take that knowledge, bring it back to the classroom, and be able to affect all of their students, from the special ed students that they have to English language learners to the GT students. And that's our goal for the program.
Another thing we want to talk about is that how do we do all this? Hebert and others, they have what they call the 5 classroom features that impact technologically infused instruction. And that is how we're going to do that during our summer month. The major part is the instruction of the instructional tasks. I mean, they need to understand what they're going to teach, number one. And let me give you an example. Suppose we gave out the assignment, okay, we want you to take all pattern box pieces and make a creature. But there's something else with that. We want at least one line of symmetry. Then we take them to the computer lab. Okay, let's pull up the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives and use the applets to build that particular creature. Then they begin to see, did I really create that line of symmetry? Oh, there's some brilliant things that happen with those non-linguistic representations from using that particular media piece that would be that way. The teacher's role is really important because that teacher is going to set the stage where you're going to really have a great classroom culture. How about picking the appropriate sequence for introducing the concepts and having procedural knowledge understood along with those particular conceptual understandings? Conceptual understanding, we say, is a real important thing to do in the classroom. Does the teacher support the students' reflection and communication of ideas? Do they let them drive the instruction with what they have to offer? And then we think about those conversations. The social culture is real important. So one day during the summer, we think, okay, as teachers, you're creating all these wonderful avenues to do. Let's invite your administrators. We have administrators stay because the administrator needs to know what is going to happen, the changes with instructions that are happening with these particular individuals. But not only are they doing cooperative learning with our students, are these things going on for this culture? And then the mathematical tools. This was the big aha. So on the first day, they got the netbooks and they got these little mini camcorders and they started rejoicing because they didn't have an idea that they were going to use these to help infuse with the lessons that they were going to do during the year. And so as they have them, we have something that is called our collaboration and course management system. And since we're the Rice Owls, it becomes called Owl Space. Whatever you think it can imagine, it could be done within education, can be done within that space. They can do emailing within there. They have a Dropbox where they can place all of their resources. We can add resources for them. There is a chat room that is in there. There is a provision for them to have blog that's in there. We have wiki spaces where we can communicate and we don't know who's giving the answers in class. There is a lot within that system. So that system became the main part that we were going to communicate with them during the year using those netbooks and also those mini camcorders. Oh wow, the teaching and learning was really going to come up. Now accessibility and equity is something we always talk about. So since they had that netbook, since they had the mini camcorder, we were going to give assignments during the school year where they were going to utilize that technology to infuse within that particular instruction. And we'll talk about it a little bit more, and we're going to give you an example at the very end of what happened during that school year.
Mm-hmm. Now, Carolyn is giving you a really good overview of the type of concepts that we are attempting to address with the teachers so that they can go back and transfer that learning in the classroom. And what is really exciting is to see the teachers come in on the very first day. Now, before they get there on the first day, they've completed a pre-survey online that has given us some background information about them and their students, has given us an idea of how they think about teaching from a pedagogical perspective, and also some information about how they feel about teaching mathematics, because as we said, we teach K through 12. So we're talking about teachers who teach all subject matters as well as those who have degrees in mathematics and are teaching mathematics, but our institute is about mathematics instruction. So we have teachers who have the range of mathematics understanding, also pedagogical understanding, whether or not that includes technology, just like they go into the classroom and they have students who have that range of understanding. So our teachers, we go in with the information about where they stand on these issues, but on the first day they give a pre-test of the mathematics concepts that they're going to be covering over the summer. In our first summer, we covered number reasoning and algebraic concepts. In the second, we covered geometric thinking and also probability and statistics and data analysis. So they come in on that first day of each of those summers, and they are taking this content test that is very rigorous. So already they feel like a student who has a master teacher who is, first of all, modeling the whole process of testing when you know the students have not necessarily been taught on this content. Also knowing you have a range of abilities in that classroom. So they go on and they take those tests, and we then do the post-test on the very last day after the last instruction, and we also take them back to the lab or take them to the lab, and they do the post-survey, where we look again at their pedagogical knowledge and their self-efficacy and their preparedness, their sense of preparedness to teach them mathematics now that they've been through the Institute. Well, these are some results from the pre- and post-test for those summers. And as you see, in the first summer, there was quite a bit of gain for both the K-3 and the 4-6. 70% in one and 133% in the 4-6. And then the second year, where both of these classes had about 10 returning teachers in those classes in that summer. So we still see some wonderful gains there, not quite as much as the first year, but these gains reflect also in the overall program gains for both of those years. And all at the statistical significance level. Again, with the pedagogy, this is something that while the teachers are modeling, they also have the teacher talk. So they are very much aware that some of the teachers in the classroom are feeling very stressful about being in the learner's seat again. And we are just so impressed with what they say about having to experience that, the teaching process from the learning perspective. Now, our teachers, our master teachers also back out and do teacher talk. So that enriches it. But in some of the presentations we've heard this weekend, there's nothing like getting that whole sensation of what you're really about in the learning process. So we can't even articulate what that brings to the process, just having them immersed as a student in the learning environment, dealing with the content, dealing with the technology that they're going to be expected to transfer into their instruction. So these are some items that we pull from the pre and post surveys that have to do with pedagogy. And the arrows there just indicate the direction of change that we were seeking with the teachers. And each of these items, there was some statistically significant growth toward the direction that we were looking forward to. And we also noticed that all of these items were great opportunities for technological infusion for teachers to address them in dealing with their classes. So as you can see, dealing with the whole thing about computational understanding or actually having the conceptual understanding, and another having to do with whether or not you let the students explore and create their own learning with mathematics, or if it's the stand and deliver, or the repetitive thing we get into sometimes as teachers where you didn't get it that way, let me say it again 20 times, as opposed to finding some technology that can let them find 20 ways that they enjoy observing that phenomenon. And so these are some wonderful things. But what we really understand is a strong pedagogical content knowledge with the understanding of the technological infusion is paramount to effective classroom instruction. And these are a few more items, and on these items, the top is just where the K-3 teachers made some progress toward the direction that we were seeking, and the 4-6 at the bottom, again, across those summers.
Throughout the program, we ask teachers to write reflections. At the end of each day, they do a journal, and that's one of the things they can put on Owl's Face. And the master teachers read them and take their input and maybe revise the lessons for the next day, or it brings up questions that we can discuss. So some of the comments that teachers wrote on how they were planning on integrating technology in their lessons are listed up here. So I'll give you a minute to just read through some of those.
Some of the survey items, the post-survey items that are related to these quotes from the teachers, where we saw some very important gains, all of them statistically significant, had to do with their feeling of their capacity to motivate students who showed very little interest in learning, and also to promote learning when there was lack of support from parents or guardians. So there were some wonderful gains in terms of their efficacy in being able to impact those students. Here are some other quotes, and you might just choose one to look at here. And these just have to do with, again, their feeling of their confidence in being able to teach the mathematics. Many of them admitted that mathematics would be something that they gave little time to because it's where they had less self-efficacy. So especially in the lower grades where they were teaching all subjects, they had that choice. Also, we saw growth on items that had to do with dealing with the difficult students or those who needed different representation, who weren't getting how they were presenting the mathematics.
The part we were most excited about was that we made the teachers felt confident after going through the program and using the technology themselves on how they could incorporate it with their students and write technology-infused lessons.
Mm-hmm. And we saw growth in terms of their capacity or their feelings that they would be capable of increasing the enjoyment levels with their students and helping them to feel that not only could they do well in mathematics, but in school in general.
So we took one of the kindergarten lessons that was in our space. And for this particular teacher, she had to place down her reflections, how well she was going to do that particular lesson. What were you going to do? I mean, what technology are you going to utilize? And also thinking about the pedagogy that had been taught in class. So this is what she placed in our space, and this was during the academic school year. And we told them to place the lesson plans in any form, whatever their school district was going to allow. Because remember, we had 9 different school districts that were there. All right, so here it is. And what we want to do next is to show you exactly what happened after she placed it in. So we encouraged them to do the reflections at the end of the day. Well, where were they going to do them? We didn't know they were going to do them all at home. So we didn't take away from the background. We wanted you to see the real thing, so you see exactly where she did her reflections. So within the reflections, we wanted them to go and talk about what was the student work like? How did you infuse the technology? How did you include the pedagogy? How did you include the manipulatives to develop the understanding? Let's listen to the video. I hope we have enough time. It's about a 3-minute video.
Well, I did the lesson today, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised by how it went. We had talked earlier in the morning again, about growing patterns, and I gave some examples, and the kids built some on the smartboard again to kind of review what we were talking about. Then this afternoon during our math tub times, I'd forgotten one of the little activities was the children were able to stamp using just rubber stamps and a stamp pad to stamp their own growing patterns. And during that point in time, I did have to talk to some of the kids and reteach a little bit about what a growing pattern was. They're great with patterns, and I told them they had a beautiful pattern, it just wasn't a growing pattern. And we talked about what would make it a growing pattern. And so I was able to see them kind of get the concept again and able to stamp out their own patterns. Our class went to the computer lab this afternoon. I gave them directions. I had to teach them about the Kid Picks program, how not to bomb everything because we didn't want it all to disappear. And then the kids were free to create their own patterns. As I anticipated, there were a lot of stair-step patterns, which is great because those are indeed growing patterns. But what I was really surprised about was the different elements they used. I did have one child that used a strawberry for the entire time, and he just stamped 1 strawberry, and then the next time it was 2, and then the next time it was 3, and so on. But then I had another child that chose different items. The first time they did maybe a smiley face, and the second time it was a smiley face and then a bird on top, and the third time they did a smiley face, a bird, and a third element. Very interesting to see how they interpreted their growing patterns. I would have to say that most of the kids did a stair-step pattern. in the computer lab that just seemed to be easier for them to see, and it was much more visually interesting too. It covered more of the page. One of the children did use a pattern that kind of just strung along the bottom, and he, kind of funny, used strawberries also. He had one strawberry, and then the next he left a space, and then 2 strawberries side by side, and then left a space, and then 3 strawberries side by side. But I was very pleased overall about how the class got those growing patterns, and next week I'll be assessing those children, or assessing the children on growing patterns. And all they really have to do for me on the assessment is just extend a growing pattern that I've already set out for them. I feel like that if they can create their own, as my guys did, then they are really going to be able to extend, and they really and truly understand the concept of growing patterns. I'm really pleased with the use of technology. The smartboard is a blast. The children love it, and it really makes teaching and learning fun. And then, of course, going into the computer lab, having that available to us, we are really blessed to have that. The children are just fabulous at computer skills. I can say that now at the end of the first semester. Beginning, of course, is very painful. Just logging on and logging off takes about the entire 30-minute block. But at this point in time, the children move pretty freely between the programs, and they can open and close. We are learning how to print, and it's just a fabulous technological tool. And I love teaching with it and love using the computer lab, and especially the smartboard this year. Until next time, have a great Christmas. Bye-bye.
All right, and you see her turning off the little mini camcorder, so they had to use the mini camcorder that they had in order to do that. We also gave them the question at the beginning, how were they going to utilize technology, and we captured it in a Wordle. And you know, a Wordle, the most important word is going to appear the most. See, they were all over the page. Technology was not really the focus, but at the end we gave them the same question. Watch what happened. Whoa, look where technology is. And some of those 5 elements that we said that were necessary to have in the classroom, we could see the teacher's role. We could see the social culture. We could see the things that they were using, all captured within this Wordle.
And if you have any questions you want to ask us, you can now, but also feel free to email us. And you can find this PowerPoint on our website, which is at the top there, starting on Monday. Any questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.